Welcome back to Pikmin 4, or maybe the last part, or the second to last part. We will see. Only two things left to do, and those are those two guys. And we start with Treasure Catalog.
It happened! You've collected every last treasure! I'm so pleased! I ask you to assist with this endeavor that I might cry! Here, please, accept this!
Thank you. Because today we will look at every treasure we have, and if I'm not mistaken, there are descriptions for them.
Thanks to you, the treasure catalog is now complete! I'm grateful!
So, then,
His entries have a unique Louis also participated here. His entries have a unique style. Truly, they are not to be missed.
Then, let's view the treasures, and that's exactly what we do. We read all descriptions of Schnauz and Louis. Oh god! Free, oh god! Wait, is it like that here too? Wait. Piclopedia. Ah, I couldn't be happier. At last, the Piclopedia of my dreams is complete. This extraordinary book is sweet yet ferocious, adorable yet dangerous. It's the most exceptional book of its kind. Oh god, I'm gonna have a sore throat after this. A record of love for all nature. We moved this together through hard work and dedication. Reflecting on the little darlings we've encountered so far, it makes my heart beat triple time. Okay. Okay, we do this. I'm just gonna steal someone's idea from a Pikmin 2 Let's Play I saw years ago. We will look at the descriptions for the treasures of Olimar and not Louis. While we look at the Piclopedia, we only focus on Louis because he usually has cooking recipes there. And that is usually like the more interesting things. I will like show the one of Schnauz and whoever that guy is, just to blend it in. You can then pause and read, but else I will make a 2-hour reading part, and I think that's something none of us would enjoy. So, then let's start. The Rubber Cutie series. The first time I laid eyes on this treasure, I thought it was a giant aquatic monster. It took me a few paralyzing seconds to realize that it's just a statue. What a relief. If such an attractive creature were to attack me, I'd be too entranced to run away. Yeah, and like that's like the gist of Olimar. Louis has like, this thing is huge, it'll take a whole day to eat its entirety. And it doesn't make sense that much in the treasure. And he has like the kind of, oh, I never saw that. The planetary Rubber Cutie has well-proportioned facial features and a smooth exterior. Its hollow interior allows it to float on water. I thought long and hard about what creature inspired this treasure, and before I knew it, I was petting its beak. I'm powerless in the face of cuteness. The stately Rubber Cutie. Compared to the other treasures found, this sculpture is tiny. Yet with its beak turned out courageously upward and its round eyes brimming with the spirit of adventure, I can't help but admire its gallant image. Beauty really can be found around any corner. The dapper Rubber Cutie. When I was a kid, I coveted a black leather jacket that hung in a shop window. It was so cool. I begged my parents to buy it for me, but they just scoffed in my face. So I saved up my pocket change for months and finally bought it myself. It turns out that wearing a leather jacket during the peak of a hot summer is a shortcut to getting a heat stroke. That was the last time I ever tried to be cool. Unless in summer, where you always try to be cool. Gosh. So yeah. One thing I just forgot. Wait. So, pop, pop, pop. Schnauz and Louis. Louis and Schnauz. Schnauz and Louis. Then Louis and Schnauz and Olimar. A gigantic brightly colored stick of candy adorned with a ribbon. My guess is that it was meant to be a gift for a child, and it would be a great souvenir to bring back to my own kids. I'll need to keep a close eye on the spaceship's temperature to prevent its melting during transport. The sweet torrent. I hear this item was discovered in a bright and open area, unlike other caves I've encountered. What's more, it was presented on a large silver plate. I wonder why it was there. Is it a form of entertainment for visiting guests? Or maybe we are the guests? Ooh, a deceptive snack. It's sweet, but not too sweet. Salty, but not overly so. It tastes like something a more refined palate would appreciate. Perhaps belonging to someone whose taste were developed over the course of many years, like Louis. Cookie of nibbled circuits. Stealing a bite of food before it's been served is quite rude, but I understand the impulse. My son and I are always waiting outside the kitchen, itching to try whatever my wife's been cooking. Thankfully, she finds it charming, or we'd have to curtail the habit. I mean, fair enough. I was never allowed to eat something before dinner was ready too when I was young. This pattern always reminds me of our family game nights. We like to play board games, but it would be even more enjoyable if we could eat the boards after. I was curious to know if the flavor was as playful as the design, so I took a bite. Tastes normal. Vanishing cookie. Sweets don't simply disappear of their own accord. There has to be some sort of scientific explanation. To test my theory, I've laid out the cookies and I'm waiting. Normally I'd have given in to my urge to eat them, but I must stay strong. Not gonna lie, even back then when I was younger in old Pikmin 2, the treasure descriptions were always kind of a, yeah, nice to have. I don't really need them though. So, we have Lost Fortune Cookie. Before we got married, my wife took a compatibility test to assess our relationship. Okay, it was all for a laugh, but we got 120%, indicating we would be eternally happy together. I don't really believe in all that fortune telling stuff, more or less, but that test got it right. So far, who knows what's yet to come. The Hardy Container. In my line of work, encountering tough situations and feeling like your life is in danger is all part of the job. But something about this cookie makes me feel like I have the strength to make it through. Like I have an extra heart if my first one runs out. Yeah, and now, they have definitely, a lot of friends in there. Jiggle Jiggle. Children are fascinated by jiggling objects like this. I know my kids would lose their mind if they encountered the gelatinous tower. I consider myself a mature adult, and even I'm finding the urge to climb onto the top on this jiggling hill. That is actually fair enough. The SS Berry. At our wedding, our friends gave my wife and me a spaceship-shaped cake that looked a lot like this one. It wasn't as big, but it resonated with my dreams of exploring space. Of course, my dreams are slightly different now, but I'm happy I still have my wife by my side. For the peppermint, one whiff of this brings me back to the long days of summer, eating ice cream with my kids. This fragrance smells like your favorite flavor, bright and refreshing. At first I didn't want to try it, but my children insisted. Now it's my favorite ice cream flavor too. Nice! Olimar is a peppermint enjoyer. All hail the peppermint ice cream! For the SS chocolate, my wife and I have been together for a long while, but the relationship has never been as perfectly poised as this cake. Maybe it's because I'm always flying around space and she's at home, trying to keep things together. Really a do for a date night. At least he knows he messed up. So, the unbreakable promise. Oh, that's ought to be something. It's a common practice to present an expensive gift to your intended when you propose. I didn't have the means to do so when my wife and I became engaged, and I've always regretted that fact. But at least I still love her as much as I did then. Oh, that's kinda sweet. The golden vaulting table. Apparently if you can jump over this, you'll be blessed with great wealth. I'm not a superstitious type, but I'm tempted to give it a try. I can't use the extra cash. The only thing standing in my way are my poor middle-aged hip joints. Okay, that was a good one. I mean, Olimar is quite old at that point, so Ooh, the olfactory sculpture. It's a multi-sensory art experience. You've got the flicker of the flame, the texture of the body, and that glorious scent that just melts into your surroundings. It's so soothing and calming. I'm getting a bit sleepy here. It is a sleep, Devi. What? Yeah, well, sorry. The Princess Pearl. My daughters loved shiny jewels and trinkets for as long as I can remember. She used to be happy enough with pretty stones and a piece of sea glass, but now all she wants are the more illustrious items like this. That doesn't bode well for my wallet's future. This gemstone is large, but it looks kind of cheap. I've only just started to accept that one day someone might propose to my own daughter with a gift like this. I know I should probably give that person a warm welcome, but I already don't like them. Olimars are daddy like in the book. Oh god, the all hoops. I read somewhere that some colors can have certain effects on your body. This color seems to calm my mind and help me recover my composure when I'm feeling thrilled in the field. It almost has a healing effect. For the hoop of passion, ooh. The science of colors intrigues me. For example, I can feel my instincts sharp and my zest for life intensify when I gaze upon this hue. What would happen if I were to walk through this room with my wife? Perhaps its power could reignite the spark between. Oh god, Olimar. Just dark room and bed, maybe not in public. I think then you have like, yeah. So, hope of fortune. People tend to gather with those who are like-minded, and eventually they become friends and partners. If you want to build a circle of good friends, you must be the kind of person whose company you enjoy. Then you find companionship with yourself as well. Ooh, a tandem trainer. I'm no longer trying to catch anyone's eye, but as the sole breadwinner, I need to prioritize my health so I can support my family for years to come. The problem is, I'm so busy supporting them, there's not a lot of time left for push-ups. Well, see how all of that turns out. And this three of fuzzy feelings. Growing up, I wasn't one for chasing balls or shedding tears over a win or a loss. But my passions were equally absorbing. I wonder why this giant fuzzy sphere has me thinking of more youthful youthful days, and what they were like for the inhabitants of this planet. We were talking about climate change. Ooh, orbital communication sphere. Its hard outer shell could withstand severe environments, but the inside appears to be unexpectedly soft. The geological layers are breathtaking. If I had to guess, I'd say this is a scale model of a celestial body. I just can't explain why I want to hit it with a stick. Well, because it's a golf ball! And you hit golf balls. I can verify that there are indeed 108 stitches on this ball. I counted them myself. The process took me all night to complete. As an explorer, it's important to question things in order to survive. But I should be careful not to overdo it. Yeah, maybe. Else we'll see you, like, stranded on another planet, or the same planet once again. Still, the greed inducement device. When I hear the sound of this makes, the word paycheck immediately comes to mind. It's followed quickly by the image of my wife's face and her voice reciting our monthly household budget. In full, food, tuition, medical bills. The list goes on and on and on. The disc of joyous wisdom. Whenever I hear a joyful song, I'm transported back to family celebrations with live music and dancing. I see my family all dressed to the nines, looking at me with silly expressions on their face. I hope to witness that again one day soon. Don't worry, my dear, you will. The disc of angry wisdom. A few years ago, my wife suspected I had betrayed her in some way or another and was furious at me. She was so enraged she could have turned the whole world upside down. It was terrifying yet comforting to know I still ignited such passion within her. The reason why she thought that maybe not the best, but hey, I get him. I do get him. And what about the sorrowful wisdom? What's the purpose of emotions? They give our lives meaning and balance. One could not survive a life of pure sorrow, so we must find the light in things. A life of pleasure would become monotonous, so we should appreciate the bad as much as the good. I mean, I can get that. So wait, here. All of that. You just have to pause. I may not be the most graceful dancer, but who really cares? I like to let the music take over and allow my body to go with the flow. Sometimes my wife and will be freestyling and it looks like so much fun the kid forget to be embarrassed and can't help but join in. Unless maybe your own kids. And surprising wisdom. My son is a known prankster and likes to catch my wife and me by surprise. One time he leaped out from behind a garden gnome and my wife jumped so high in surprise that she threw out her bag. Since then we established a strict household, no surprises policy. Well, fun birthdays I presume. The secured satchel. I'm curious by the way. Oh god, we still have a lot of things yet to come. Ba-ba-bum. Store well. No wait. How many times have I heard my family complain about a jar that won't open or a door that won't open? And there I am saying, just run under hot water or push, don't pull. However, I've tried both on this bag and it literally cannot be opened. Oops, there. When a flower blooms on a dead tree, it is nothing short of a phenomenon. I've also witnessed flowers bloom on a Pikmin's head after they drink nectar. I suspect the stick shares the same rejuvenating property exhibited by other life forms on this planet. Yeah, no, not really. So the fastening item. This one time when I was a kid, my parents had a big fight and refused to speak to each other. I went back and forth, mediating until the argument was resolved. I'd like to say it was for the sake of their love, but I was just tired of waiting for dinner. Oh god, that's relatable. Ooh, the trap lid. I found that this planet is riddled with underground caverns and passageways. I love to explore this place, but it feels like I'm constantly in danger of falling into a hole. This lid must have been used to warn previous inhabitants of nearby pitfalls. Kind of true, but they were bigger. The perforated raft. I'd equip the underside of this raft with floats so that it hovers above the water surface, making it impossible to sail without sinking. Then I plugged the holes with magnifying lenses so I could pee underwater safely. I mean, good point. The lovely patina on this piece is evidence of a deep bond between this dog and its companion. A dog never truly forgets their owner, and an owner will remember their dog for life. Eternal truths such as this transcend all times and galaxies. Oh god! Here's the deal. I don't want to read out all the memory fragments. Because, like... No. I don't like the memory fragments, so you have to... If it interests you, just pause them. Like, how much can you say about a fucking empty piece? Gosh, I'm glad I don't read all out of this. So before that though, there's the finished picture that we've been collecting for so long. Just wanna check something. Yeah, okay. 3, 6, 12. Okay, it matches. Great. This scent is dangerously sweet and brings to mind concentrated memories of my wife's adorable smile. But one can't subsist on sweetness alone. You also need solid qualities like trust and patience. Having those is like a big hearty breakfast for the soul. This is an extremely dangerous food. Its light and airy appearance belies a rich and indulgent interior. Before you finish one, you're already reaching for the next. Is it even possible to deny such temptation? And do I even want to? Yeah, you should for your weight. I nap in the pilot's seat sometimes, but a cushion like this would be a great alternative. The only weird part is that it's edible. Does that mean something or someone could eat it right out from under you? That's a major drawback. Its shape is mesmerizing. I only wish I could understand how it was sculpted. The more I think about it, the hungrier I get. Thankfully, the salty and sweet pillowy interior is as re-energizing as it is delicious. But then I start thinking again, and the cycle continues. Ooh, the spheres now. There's nothing in the universe more interesting than the universe itself. A curious and inquisitive mind will never be satisfied, no matter how much you explore. I hope I feel this way as long as I can. It's important to stay interested in your work. It's often said that you don't realize how much your parents have done for you until it's too late to thank them. I try to show my gratitude and keep in touch as much as I can with video calls, but as soon as my kids pop on screen, my parents forget I'm there. Ouch! I know it's impossible to read minds, but I am particularly clueless when it comes to relationships. When we first started dating, my wife was gracious enough to explain how she felt in great detail. I'm still awkward, but any social skills I do have are thanks to her. Sounds like something my girlfriend would say. I've never minded having to start over or pick up my life at the flip of a switch. My environment and those in my social circle might change, but as long as I have my family with me, I'll still be me. They always call me out when I'm acting totally weird. My girlfriend does the same. And then we fight. And then we get along again. It's become painfully obvious to me that the mind and body are closely linked. Spending so much time away from my family is hard on my mental health, and it visibly takes a toll on my body. Even I eat healthy and exercise, I really miss them. Would make a nice gift. Oh wait. It just occurred to me that I haven't had a checkup in, I'm embarrassed to say how long. You're supposed to do it once a year, but I keep putting it off. Lately my elbow's been making an odd clicking sound every time I move it. I should get checked out, eventually. Getting lost in space is as good as a death sentence. The newest ships have technology that can locate the closest planet and initiate an emergency landing. Yet they still haven't built a navigation system that can detect and avoid incoming meteorite and space trash. Maybe they should work on that. It's easy to lose someone's trust, despite the fact that it takes so long to build it in the first place. But once you have that trust and support, it's much easier to achieve your goals. I'd rather be able to count on someone I trust than leave it all up to chance. Understandable, I sometimes did things that made my girlfriend lose trust in me at times, but in the end we all got along. I never consider myself to be someone with a lot of inner strength or fortitude, but my wife seems to disagree. I must be playing it way too cool when we're together. Sphere of Truth! Does anyone know those YouTube shorts? This ball is meant to represent truth, but the truth is never truly black or white. It's both subjective and objective and extremely tricky. I think that color gray would make more sense for this object, or maybe that hideous brown you get when you mix all the paint colors together. Maybe. Sunseed berries! Oh, I love strawberries. The scent of this fruit tickles my heart for some reason. It makes me think back on summer memories, my wife smiling at me in the sunlight. She'd probably have a good laugh if she ever read this, but that wouldn't be so bad. I happen to love that sound. What a perplexing plant. It appears to be carrying two different types of berries. They must be a rare species of fruit. Both have odd traits. One seems to be suppressant, while the other is stimulant. It's not easy to tell which is which. I think he told about sweet and sour cherries. In my youth, I used to power through long night shifts by sucking on sour fruit candy. It somehow energized me and kept me wide awake. I couldn't do that now, even with the candy, but it's an example of how sometimes things turning to sour can work out for the best. When my first child was born, my wife and I would sit outside in the warm spring weather and take turns rocking him in our arms. Those days were filled with endless joy. The sunlight bouncing off his downy hair looked just like this. The night after I ate this fruit, I had a dream in which I saw lots of them growing clustered together on a tree. If I were able to grow and harvest that many, we'd never run out of food. I suppose we won't know what's possible until I plant the first seed. Ooh, the cantaloupe. Picking the right get well soon gift is notoriously tricky. You're supposed to choose something you think the recipient would enjoy and ignore your own preferences. It's easier said than done. When I can't think of anything good, I usually default to some sort of food. Like this fruit. I know I'm always hungry when I'm sick. So, one whiff of this fruit will have your mouth watering, but the taste itself is sour and slightly disappointing. However, you can't let results like this keep you from trying new things. There's no greater quality than an adventurous spirit. To enjoy the... oh wait. Extremely sweet. Almost too sweet. The flavor makes you feel drowsy with joy and you want to soak in those joyful juices forever and ever. I may need to limit my intake when it comes to this fruit. It's difficult... oh wait. This fruit comes in bunches, so you can keep eating them and never run out. A single berry satisfies my appetite, but I'm grateful to live in a universe with such natural abundance. Ooh, I'm sorry. I've noticed that the skin contains a substance with antioxidant properties. That's probably why I feel so fresh and invigorated after I eat one. I wonder how I'd feel after eating two. Oh, wait, he has more to say. I look at this fruit and I'm instantly overcome by the urge to split it into a million pieces. I closed my eyes to avoid the thought, but the impulse just got stronger. I must be holding on to a deep desire to take on and defeat a giant fecal obstacle. Numerous pockets of juice clustered around the hollow interior. Much like memories, both sweet and sour, that burst with meaning, yet still cannot fill that empty place in one's heart. Gazing upon this food always fills me with regret. That sounds kinda sad, and what would you regret, Olimar? Being saved all the time? Seems to be a citrus lump, but younger and very green. Inexperience is usually perceived as a weakness, but its power should not be underestimated. Many an organization has been improved by a newcomer's creative and untamed energy. Wait, just checking that I did that here. So, while observing the plant bear fruit, I was unable to work out where and when the flower bloomed. I was so frustrated that I couldn't figure out basic botany, but all those annoying feelings faded away as soon as I bit into the fruit's sweet flesh. Ah, my headphones. I pulled them out. Don't leave me. No, don't leave me. I don't want you to leave me alone. This fruit reminds me of a particular sunset I witnessed years ago. My son and I were walking home together one evening, and the sun was setting right across our path. I remember it like it was yesterday. It wasn't spectacular in the least, but I'll never forget it. There's an elegance about this fruit. Its graceful curves and subtle flavor bring to mind images of ornate ballrooms, overflowing with cultured guests and blossoming flavors. The simple act of eating it makes me feel a little fancier. This fruit has a high water content, and its skin is so thin that you can bite right through it. It'd be the most perfect snack to keep in your pack on a long hike through the desert. If only it didn't bruise so easily. The fruit on this planet is astonishingly large. If we could cultivate these ample fruits on Hokotate, nobody would ever go hungry again. Sadly, I don't know anything about agriculture. Maybe I should listen to my wife when she taught me to do yard work. Maybe, then you wouldn't have problems at Hokotate. My wife went through the phase where all she talked about was Pikmin and its nutritional value. She charted Pikmin U percentages, and then there was A and P, and I never really understood what she was talking about. But she was so passionate about it, I couldn't help but listen. I bet she'd really like to try this fruit. So wait, just let me check where we are halfway through. Little cut because I need to drink something. So, I've had a drink, so let's get it over with. When I look at the company residence, I can't see myself climbing the corporate ladder. To be a manager, it seems like you've also got to be an inhuman, heartless villain. These traits allow them to squeeze their dedicated workers without mercy and still sleep at night. I feel that same merciless cruelty radiating from this metallic altar. I wonder if it was once used for dark, unspeakable ceremonies, or perhaps it was once the desk of a corporate boss. We'll never know. This fruit is so shiny and round it reminds me of a beach ball whenever I see it. Yet it is so yummy that I can't help but get cravings for it and end up eating it all the time. The only drawback is that I'm constantly disappointed that I'm not on vacation. The face wrinklers. The love between my wife and I has been captured in all sorts of romantic memories, as sweet and sour as this fruit. It's fun to return to those memories and feel what I felt then. Sometimes I wonder how my kids will feel the first time they fall in love. Some people may like to peel the fruit from the top, but I prefer to attack it from the bottom instead. Whenever I go from the top, I get this tingly feeling around my belly button. I find it very unnerving. An apple! This fruit could be hiding more than a tasty interior. One more than a few occasions, I found bugs munching their way through the sweet flesh, presumably enjoying a snack of their own. How funny to think that I share the same taste and fruit as a worm. Don't ask me how I know, but if you draw a face on this fruit, it bears an uncanny resemblance to my wife. Wearing a hat. And even amidst the same stylish and judgmental aura, funny how the doodle version of her is as intimidating as the real thing. Are you having a good marriage? The hard, scaly shell that covers this fruit gets softer and darker as it ripens, so determining the optimal time to peel and eat it can be difficult. It's as if the fruit is actively trying to sabotage your enjoyment. I've never known produce to be so sneaky. I always thought it was better to eat fruit when it's ripe, but this one is just as enjoyable and nutritious when it's green. The same can be said about creatures like us. Many think maturity is superior, but inexperience and youth are what provide fresh perspectiveness. To look at a cross-section of the fruit, you'd think it was a drawing of a star, like on one my son would make. Stars don't actually look like that, so why do we draw them this way? Maybe the secret to the universe is hidden within those 5 points. Peeling this fruit is arduous due to its soft skin. When I tried to eat it without first removing the peel, a rash developed around my mouth. I had better success when I slid grit-like cuts into the skin and flipped it inside out. The results were delicious. I must confess, I once slipped and fell on a peel that I thoughtlessly discarded onto the floor after eating this fruit inside. I'm really too old to be making mistakes like that. I can't even hear my own voice scolding. I can't even hear my own voice scolding myself. Don't forget to clean up your trash. Throughout my life, I've met people who seemed flashy or fancy, but were actually quite down to earth. I've also met people who were as arrogant as they looked. The same lesson should be applied to this food. It looks pretty intimidating, but what's on the inside? I've heard this mattress possesses miraculous relaxation properties that promise the most restless sleeper a good night of sleep. I was curious to know how this would affect me, who can literally sleep anywhere. Would I ever wake up again? Thankfully, I did. My beloved dog, Bulby, has the impressive ability to fall asleep anywhere he wants. We have that in common. This habit is also one of my wife's biggest pet peeves. Perhaps if Bulby had this designated bed, it would create a bit more harmony at home. Research has shown that sound waves created by a chirping bird are naturally comforting and induce sleep. Now, I don't have any strong preferences when it comes to bedding, but if this makes me feel like I'm sleeping on the forest floor, it could be worth a try. This thing reminds me of this one time I was fixing the hull of the SS Dolphin. The combination of the sun and zero gravity created an illusion. It was as if I was a fish floating in the open sea. When in fact that was just me, floating in a sea of space debris. I look forward to one day looking upon the face of my grandchild. If it's as cute as this one, I couldn't help but dote on them. But it doesn't really matter what they look like or if they resemble me or someone else in my family. I always thought that grandchildren are meant to be spoiled. I can't say I wouldn't enjoy that. I used to know a guy who would never give in to his kids when I begged him for something. He had one look from his grandkids and he'd give them anything they wanted. It seems that a grandchild possesses immense powers of persuasion. Or it's just magic. You know what? I know that from my grandparents and my mom. Same thing. Children often exhibit both the positive and negative qualities of their parents. I think that's why we feel for them so much. What's more, we want them to keep improving and even exceed the expectations we set. It's hard to work being a kid. Wait. I've worked hard so I wouldn't be a financial burden on my parents, and I don't want my kids to be dependent on me when they grow up. A parent's job is to raise independent children, but not too independent. You still want them to come home for the holidays. As a parent, you need to be able to hide some emotion from your children. It's harder than you think. I remember telling my parents about my career goals and seeing the disappointment in their eyes. It hurt, but I'm glad it didn't pull me off my path. Once you have children, money starts disappearing faster than you can save it. My wife always says, if it's for the children, it's worth it. I admire her enormous heart. Still, every year it seems like the children get more and more expensive. I never expected to find such an appetizing cut of wheat in a dark underground lair. Why was it there? How was it made? And is there a reason for its large size? I imagine it was an offering to some great figure. I shall pay my respects later as well. I'm not sure why you'd want to eat raw fish. Maybe cookery on this planet advanced so far that we're able to recreate the essence of the original ingredients. It'd be easier to eat if I could cut it down into smaller pieces, but that might be insulting to the chef. Most likely, yes. I understand the white granular part on the bottom to be fish eggs. Nope, not really. One time when I went fishing with my son, we caught a fish who was carrying eggs like these. It was a revelatory moment for him to see how life can differ from species to species. One of my favorite birthday gifts as a child was a book I received called 20,000 Millimeters Under the Sea. I believe I owe my adventurous spirit to that novel. How funny that a piece of seafood from a different planet could remind me of my childhood. I can tell that it'll give me tons of power and stamina. I'm not athletic, but if I ate this whole thing, I'm sure I could work for 3 days straight without a wink of sleep. Now that I think about it, I don't want the president to hear about this and get any ideas. My taste in music is highly refined, but my wife and kids have no taste at all. For example, when I ask my family if they want to go out for karaoke, they twist their faces and give me a nasty look. They don't know what they're missing. I want to go karaoke, but I can't sing. Sometimes I miss my carefree bachelor days. Once you have a family, those days are history. Like spending time with my wife. I like spending time with my wife, but sometimes I just want to be alone. Every time he just says something negative about his relationship. When I was a kid, I set off the alarm system at my primary school just to see what would happen. As predicted, I was scolded, but I have no regrets. We are naturally curious creatures. Why else would we be here? I still get the urge to set off alarms, but sadly I've got better at resisting those impulses. Despite its solemn appearance, the sound emitted by this object is airy and bright. It reminds me of the innocence and wonder that lives in the heart of a young child. It's important never to lose that sense of childlike wonder. I know I haven't. Unpainted spaceships look a lot like this, shiny and ripe for adventure. As a kid, I would go down to the spaceship dock just to watch the ships being assembled. That's where I started to dream big. In reality, this is likely some kind of noisemaker. Like a honk? I mean, fair enough. The ocarina. Based on its shape and where it was found, I have deduced this is a nest for some type of aquatic creature. On Hogotá, the fish are known to use sunken buildings and objects like their own underwater apartments. I'm sure many alive flourished here. Not really. I'm not sure my eardrums will never recover from the thunderous noise emitted by this artifact. I can only imagine it played a role in many a naughty child's practical jokes. If I had one of these as a kid, I'm sure it would have been a terror. Ooh, something about those suits. The memory song. Strange, despite its calming tone, something about this melody makes my palms sweat and sends shivers up my spine. It's as if it's sending me a warning about unexpected troubles in the future. The lullabies. There's a healing quality to this song, and I can't help but gravitate towards it. Perhaps it's a machine meant to lure prey for stronger predator. The strong do have a disproportionate advantage on this planet. Wait, then does that make me the weaker prey? Yeah, sadly yes, Olimar. To feel the excitement of a grand adventure, all you need to do is... Oh wait. My son is always playing some sort of adventure game. He's become the hero, defeats his arch nemesis, and saves the day at last. I admire heroic figures like that, but if given a choice, I choose my own life again and again. Considering you're a hero? Yeah. When I blow air into this rock, it makes the hair on my neck stick straight up. But if I blow a little bit harder, the sound becomes cracky and soft. It's so pathetic I can't help but burst into a fit of giggles whenever I hear it. This oh wait, okay, we're still in a soulful musician. This object rattles when you move it. It sounds quite similar to the frequency emitted by baby goats on my home planet. I imagine this would work in a pinch if you had a crying baby you needed to soothe. I wasn't surprised to discover this had been found inside the groovy longlegs deep underground. It certainly gives off the same vibes as a creature made of inorganic and organic materials. On a separate note, every time I look at it, I want to dance. So, and now we just have a simple moment to listen to the songs. Pikmin 3. The only sad thing is, the music doesn't align with the actual thing it plays. Then we have the lullabies. No sure where this is from. Could be Mario Galaxy. Yeah, that's Zelda. So yeah. Great Adventure Series. It's reminiscent of a telescope I had when I was a kid. My father and I would stare up at the skies together and talk about our discoveries. That telescope nurtured my adventurous spirit. I'd love to meet the adventurer peeked into these lenses. I was entranced by the longer needle as it spun round and round, and I completely lost track of time. This object doesn't strike me as otherworldly, but whenever I look at it, it's like I can feel the space-time continuum bending around me. I mean, more or less it kinda is if you sit on it. The narrow-like object floating in the center appears to move around at will, but it's actually always pointing in the same direction. It could be trying to point me toward my destiny, but I'd rather figure that out on my own. That sounds like a Pirate of the Caribbean reference. Everything looks so much bigger when you peer through this lens. You can see the smallest of details and all the different components that make up a single object. That's the proper way to conduct a scientific investigation. Why is it that a child's eyes always seem to light up at the sight of a train? My son was fascinated with them, and it was the first toy he ever wanted. I was the same way as a kid. Even now I'm wishing I could hop on this train and go for a ride. Choo choo! Long ago, railroads were the lifeblood of civilization, and the power to transport people or supplies remains key to our survival. Someone got to move the fuel, right? I like to think a company plays a similar role in space. It gives meaning to the daily grind. As a student, I once took a local train, a really slow one, on a journey to wherever it was going. I was the only passenger. The unchanging scenery stretched on and on. I felt like I was the only person in the world. Sounds a lot like space travel, huh? During my first job, my parents would meet me at the train station when I got home from work. I always thought I'd do the same thing for my kids, but it's usually them waiting at the station for me now. It always warms my heart, but I wish I could return the favor. They say that following the straight and narrow path is a virtue, but I've learned firsthand that it doesn't always lead you to your destination. When I started working directly under the president of Hokkaido Freight, I thought it was the inevitable next step in my career. All it led to was piles and piles of paperwork. I'll be happy if my kids take slightly twisted route in life, as long as it helps them achieve their dreams. I always slow down on sharp curves, but sometimes I crave the occasional thrill of speed. Maybe if I floored the accelerator while the parking brake was engaged, it would satisfy my desire. Sometimes I look around and wonder if civilization isn't simply the result of all of us trying to satisfy our desires just enough to stay productive. I took my son to the zoo a few years ago and he suddenly started crying. To calm him, I walked him back and forth on a path with no exhibits. We didn't see any animals that day, but I learned that sometimes the best solution is as simple as changing direction. Some people think I don't like the concept of a set path or staying on the rails. That's not true at all. The only thing that matters to me is that I'm going to the right direction. If I get to my destination is irrelevant, much like the opinions of others. That's a good thing, and you should always remember that. Obviously, not always the opinion of others is irrelevant, but believe in yourself. So the idea is you put your hand in the mouth and pretend it's being devoured by whatever's inside this object. Maybe some people find that funny or even romantic, but it seems like a mediocre party gag to me. I don't even know what it's meant to be honest. I wish I could eat all... No, wait. I do not want to cross paths with the owner of these teeth. Of course, given the height of those molars, I'm guessing they're too big to have much in the way of physical agility. And that could work to my advantage. If we did encounter one another, I could just run in frantic circles until they eventually gave up. I'm reminded of a toothbrush I used when I was a kid. I always wanted to brush my own teeth, so when my mom finally gave up helping me, it was a sweet victory. Unfortunately, that's when I started to get cavities. I guess that's the price of independence. No, not really. Brushing a child's teeth for them is hard work, made worse by the fact that they're oblivious to the perils of tooth decay. I stopped brushing our kids' teeth for a time so they could learn for themselves, but that idea did not go over too well with my wife. Kinda understandable though. Wait. I look at this and I'm instantly overcome by thoughts of my mother and all the mothers out there. They represent the power of nature itself, cocooning the universe in love and fortifying it with their strength since the dawn of time. This shape resembles a mammalian appendage, but I have no idea what it actually does. It's driven with what can only be described as beast-drool, not breast-drool, god! I'm hesitant to touch it, but I've got a duty to my mission, and maybe it won't be so bad if I close my eyes. Damn, Olimar, you are on a mission. The bathtub we have at home is much smaller. If we had one like this, we could use it as a hot tub and relax together. Then again, it's hard to unwind when surrounded by excited children, especially ones who like to slash you in the face. I was in awe of a modular robot when I was growing up. Their strength and abilities oppressed me to my core. I doubt anyone's ever admired me in such a way, and I pulled out my headphones again. But maybe that's not bad, if I find great satisfaction in being respected as an equal. Wait. Once I get started on something, I'm the type that can't help but keep piling on more and more for myself to do. If that's considered hard work, then I guess I like hard work. The only problem is the result of hard work isn't always good work. Sadly true. It's crucial to believe that you are capable of success, but just because you believe it doesn't guarantee it will happen. Then again, if you don't believe it, you are unlikely to succeed at all. That's why you have to clench your fists and remain strong in the face of every challenge. For me, the ultimate success will be returning home to my family. I believe I can. For me, love and protectiveness go hand in hand. When I think of my daughter, rambunctious, willful, a bright spark of joy, both feelings come forth at once. I'd do anything to keep her spark from fading the way mine has. If she read this now, she'd say, "Lighten up, Dad." This robot... legs are some of the most important parts of a living organism. Not only are they used for walking and running, but that movement helps circulate blood throughout the body. Some even call legs the second heart. I wonder if my toes have a second purpose as well. Many people don't realize that they not only have a dominant hand, but a dominant leg as well. That leg can even be more muscular or longer than its non-dominant counterpart. Too big of an imbalance between the legs can have staggering effects. This is my favorite color. I love how it imbues passion and emotions into everything it touches. Come to think of it, the first Pikmin I encountered was red. Perhaps that's why I instinctively trust them. Colors can influence behavior in all kinds of ways. This color is very similar to that of the blue Pikmin. I prefer red. I heard that Pikmin of the same color were found in the same location. Could there be a correlation? Some creatures change their appearance to match their environment. I like to observe what happens to those Pikmin when exposed to other environments. Found in a dark location. Luckily, it was just bright enough to be spotted in the vicinity of purple Pikmin. I've never associated purple with strength, but I've since had to revise my thinking. Discovered in an obscure locale alongside white Pikmin, creatures with bright colors are usually more likely to be packing poison, while creatures with dull discoloration are generally harmless. But this doesn't apply to white Pikmin. In fact, they're dangerously poisonous. No doubt they use this to their advantage. This color reminds me of rock Pikmin. When I first touched one, I was surprised by how cold it felt. It was a pleasant sensation, and they didn't seem to mind my curiosity. Much like this treasure, rock Pikmin were found in a dark, chilly place. How appropriate. Wait, just in case. I look like... oh wait. An attractive color similar to that of the winged Pikmin that were found in its vicinity. It mystifies me how such helpless creatures have survived for so long. The bright color makes it so easy for a predator to spot them. Needless to say, I find them to be particularly fascinating. This color reminds me of the ice emitted by the Susnivzentvis. Is it a coincidence that I encountered this treasure and ice Pikmin in the same area? It's no coincidence that ice Pikmin are called that. If I licked one, I'm sure my tongue would stick to it. The same color as the glow Pikmin that appear while exploring nights. Many think neon colors are artificial, but they're actually the result of certain materials reacting to short wavelengths of light. So really they are quite natural and another example of how our perception can be unreliable. Man, I've learned stuff here! Let's just see. So. Oh god, we still have some to do. Then let's go. This will be an hour-long part. This statue seems to be imbued with the majesty of an ancient goddess. When I look up at her, I can't help but be mesmerized by her beauty until my neck starts throbbing. While looking at this statue, I found myself smiling and petting its head for no discernible reason. It must possess a magical ability to captivate people and convince them to do its bidding. How can something so devious and manipulative be so cute? This looks a lot like a figurine my son learned about in school. I've always wondered why she wears goggles, but does she have to hide? Maybe a secret path of another ancient statue floating around out there. I look forward to discussing this theory with my son. Sorry. Could I be related to the person who modeled for the statue? While examining it earlier, I felt myself striking the same pose without even realizing it. If we do share the same genes, how did they end up on this side of space? What manner of calamities had befallen the planet at the time this statue was created? Apocalyptic catastrophes, extreme weather, the weather of the gods? The questions that artifacts like this inspire are what makes them valuable. I've never been the type to give up. No matter how many times I fall, I'll always get back up again. At first I thought I could practice alongside this machine, but its stubby body reminds me too much of the president. One glance at it and I lose all motivation to continue. Looking upon this warrior's coming visage is a peaceful way to spend an hour. The eyes seem to see through everything, as if their gaze is freeing you from the darkness of your mind. Perhaps I've stumbled upon the scared key to life with the greatest questions. I can't pinpoint the exact moment, but this reminds me of the face my wife once made when I delivered a perfectly executed dad joke. What mysterious and fluffy creatures. I can't find evidence of them in any of the existing creature databases, but there's something familiar. It's almost as if I met them before. I guess I'll chalk it up to an ancient memory that's been imprinted on my genome. Quantifying the warmth in your heart, what a brilliant idea! The next time there's a mix-up between my wife and me, I can just show her the numerical value of my feelings for her. Then we could use it on her and... Actually, that part might backfire. Dude! Get relationship counseling or something. Tasks in space require accurate timing. Docking a spaceship is a good example of that. If the monitors on my ship were to break, I'd need to measure time using my instincts alone. This is a perfect tool to help me develop an accurate sense of time. I may be able to embed these on the wall of the ship's computer room. It could be useful for making manual calculations should the ship's AI ever crash. Space pilots need to be prepared for any emergency, and I'll take all the help I can get. This is an extremely sturdy calculator. Never thought sturdiness was a necessary quality for a calculator, but I do recall my wife recalculating our monthly budgets multiple times after shopping trips with extreme vigor. And the calculators I've used for both life and work do have a tendency to get thrown around. I guess the craftsmen on this planet had the right idea. Yeah, you sometimes don't like the numbers. A strange life form that mimics an octopus. We've discovered other creatures that use mimicry, but in this case it's fairly unconvincing. I'm not even sure if it is a life form. I intend to dissect to investigate further, but first I will try one tiny bite. Seems he was hungry back then. It's disturbing to see a mouth that can be removed like a cap. If it were reattached improbably, would the bodily fluid simply pour right out? I remember when a supposedly airtight container of mine once failed. My bag smelled like onion soup for a week. And people most likely didn't want to talk to him. A fossil excavated on the beach. From its shape I can deduce that it was cast by an aquatic creature. That could indicate that the current side of the beach was once the ocean floor. Discovered along in a mountain stream, its shape reminds me of a type of footwear used when moving through shallow waters. Perhaps this creature mimicked the shoe prints of this planet's inhabitants as a way to hide its plain sight and steal their food. This spear looks like a rocket from the early days of space exploration. Fair enough. It maybe even conceals some kind of high propulsive force within, but I hope it has a more romantic history and that it protected explorers as they sailed through space. I mean, You will never know, but most likely not, my dear. Ah, my little girl has always had the princess of our household. If there was a miniature version of this, I'd love to present it to her as her own personal fork. I can imagine it now. She'd be so ecstatic, swinging it all around, wreaking havoc, scaring the dog. Never mind, I think our little princess is a tad too spirited for a gift like this. Careful! This tool is very sharp. Its original owner must have wanted to pierce or crack things open at any cost. As a lover and preserver of unique objects, I'm not quite sure I understand the purpose or value of an item such as this. I mean, it's an ice pickle. During slow days at work, I like to play this game where I use the zero gravity to float toy rockets in front of the ship's window. Then I act out scenes from my favorite childhood TV show and pretend there's a galactic war going on in the distance. I should probably edit these notes before the president asks to review them. Yeah, might not come in handy. I think this might be a tool for warding off predators. Perhaps if I attach it to my bag, the creatures of this planet would be deterred from chasing me. I could test this theory on the Pikmin. Of course, they might end up carrying me instead. Treasure and all. I like pressing the different directions of the mathematical symbol, but there's something captivating about the two round buttons. I can't help but want to push them over and over as fast as I can. I don't want to break them, but I want to stop. How interesting that the artist used the black plank as a canvas and how they choose to depict the pilot. They look like the type that works hard for the beloved family, though the design of the spaceship is all wrong. Good luck flinging that thing through narrow meteor crevices. I mean, it's a game, my dear. It's a bit unusual to call something a masterpiece before you read it, but I've got a good feeling about this one. I think it's meant for children, but is it about a boy or a girl? Hopefully both. It's been hard to please everyone in the audience at bedtime lately. This machine is equipped with an advanced vibration feature. The vibrations seem to be communicating in a vacuum, perhaps trying to reach out to its corresponding system, which has likely been lost to time. Who knows what the machine is trying to say, but it's telling me something about the sadness of abandoned technology. Sharing is one of civilization's most important virtues. We share food, shelter, stories, and sometimes even checks. I can only hope this belief is also held by the president of our company. I'd like him to share in the form of a holiday bonus this year. Yeah, keep on dreaming. I don't have a creative cell in my body, but my daughter somewhere avoided this genetic deficiency. When she's drawing, she becomes so absorbed by her art, it's as if she can't hear a word I say. That or she's just ignoring me. I have no idea if what she draws is any good, but the ability to focus on something so deeply is talent enough. Either way, her future is bright. Ooh, the Game Boy SP. Space is a funny place. You can be using the latest in galaxy navigation technology and still find yourself lost in a sea of space trash. But that's life, isn't it? If you want to advance, you've got to be flexible. This also applies to setting martial disagreements. Dude! I sort of see the winged aspect, but mostly this reminds me of a model spaceship I played with as a kid. The overall design is perfect for transcending all kinds of atmospheric barriers. Plus it looks so cool! So, I just gotta take a drink real quick again. After having taken a short break, let's do the last ones. Finish line. What you eyes might see is not an exact representation of reality. We can only see one part of the world within the narrow range of visible light. This magnificent device proves that theory. I'd love to show it to my kids one day. It would boggle their minds. I'm picky when it comes to music, but I'm fascinated by how a melody can perfectly capture a person's soul or even a specific feeling. I wonder what my song would be. I'd like to think it would sound bold and romantic and reflect my adventurous career. Maybe I should just write it myself. The ability to stay balanced is critical to exploration and space travel. It is okay to lose your balance as long as you can regain it right away. This tool is perfect for strengthening that skill. The only problem is I can't get it to move forward when I'm on my back. Fair enough. These shutters make it difficult to see clearly ahead, so I'm not sure why they'd be found in a dark cave. And it's not as if they could even be used as a proper hiding place. They remind me of playing hide and seek with my kids and pretending not to see them. Yeah, we all know that. This tasty red snack isn't quite a fruit, but it doesn't seem like a vegetable either. Oh, the age-old question. I've analyzed it extensively, and whenever I think I've settled the matter, I discover something new that calls it all into question. This is why I'm not a scientist by trade. When I was a student, a girl in my class asked me to go shopping with her. It would have been rude to refuse, so I went. My friends kept hassling me, saying it was a date. It was so embarrassing. But come to think of it, my wife asked me out soon after that. I wonder if she was jealous. Yeah, that was a long one. This plant grows so fast it reminds me of my own children. One day they are little babies in my arms, the next day they've sprouted up into fully fledged people. I have my wife to thank for that. She does so much while I'm so frequently away for work. I once saw a prototype of a spaceship shaped a lot like this. Unfortunately, it didn't fly straight, it just spun around the place. Examples like that are why I prefer a more traditional approach. Being original for the sake of originality is usually a waste of time, and I definitely agree. During my explorations, I found vegetables like this. I've never seen anything like them. This dark, dwelling vegetable stores all of its nutritious energy in its roots. I think the name that it's been given, Child of the Earth, is very fitting. I didn't even know anyone would actually call it that. When my son was born, I was almost immediately worried about him, but it was different with my daughter. I sensed from the start that she was strong-willed and sturdy, a sweeter version of her mother. This daughter of the earth reminds me of her. Large, and the size is right for retrofitting into some sort of vehicle, maybe a carriage? But then what does you do with all the goopy inside? Flippantly throw them out the window as you roll away in your fancy new transport? Never! I am vehemently opposed to wasting food. Fair enough, nice reference again. I don't need any special tools to break open the shell, and the fruit inside is edible. Cracking these open is so satisfying that I find myself getting carried away and opening more than I could possibly eat. And note to self, work on moderation. That's always important, to work on moderation. That's why I'm doing a 1 hour, 20 minutes most likely record. The shape of this fruit looks a lot like my grandpa's face. Okay. It is so similar that if I were to name it, I'd call it the Grampy Face fruit. My wife always thought my taste in names was catastrophically bad, which is why she named both of her children. But I think this one has a certain ring to it. Kinda. Grampy Face fruit, I like that. The first time I rode in a spaceship, I was a student working part-time for an interspace transportation company. The excitement I felt during the first launch was unforgettable. The iconic rocket engraved on this shield reminds me of that moment. When I was little, I'd look at a picture of the planet and imagine that the rings around them were roads you could travel on. Of course, once I got to space, I learned that those rings are usually made up of dust particles. I've never been so disappointed. Someone told me that when a satellite is decommissioned, some of its lights will start to blink spontaneously as it falls through the atmosphere. It's likely a glitch, but I'd like to believe the satellite sending one last message before burning up into nothingness. That's actually kind of a sweet thought. The figure on this shield is wearing something quite similar to our spacesuits. That would mean these living beings must have looked something like us. I wonder who they were and what their faces looked like. Could they have been our ancestors who migrated through space to our planet long ago? Or the other way around? I often encounter comments and meteors on the job, and collisions are bound to happen. I once had to make a crash landing for that very reason. I like to look back at those events as unexpected adventures, but at the time they were pretty harrowing. Okay, we are getting closer and closer. Even though it's awkward to handle, I assume it's a weapon of some kind. I like how lightweight and user-friendly it is, but I'm not sure how effective it would be against most threats. Oh, wait, I lost the word. Either way, it's a lot of fun to play with. It must have been pretty hard to see the sword in the forest, as it would blend in with the foliage. Applying a apathetic coloration to a weapon is more than just practical. It's brilliant. I'm always amazed at the creative solutions that float around the minds of others. The Ice Sword. I've visited a few icebound planets while delivering cargo throughout space. Based on my experience, I find it hard to believe this material could withstand such a severe environment. I think it's likely this object was used for another purpose. My son used to have a toy sword in a similar color. He was obsessed with it and brought that sword everywhere he went, including a diner table. That's it, until I explained that it was dishonorable for a hero to attack a weaker citizen wielding only a fork. With all these different colored swords, I assume that the armies on this planet color-coded their troops. An entire unit with magic weapons and uniforms would have been a sight to behold. I'm sure this color especially stood out. And now we are at the unfloatable boat. They say it's possible to float this unfloatable boat with the help of divine intervention. That sounds a lot like luck to me. I've had my fair share of bad luck, but at least I've been fortunate enough to survive. Anyhow, my chances don't look good. Agreed. You are very unlucky usually. I'm much more used to seeing fish painted in profile instead of from the top down. I suspect this is supposed to float underwater, but I'd be quite startled to encounter a fish like this under normal circumstances, although there are fish that look like that. The movement of the universe always seemed slow to me, but it's a matter of perspective. Maybe the movement of this object is how a higher power perceives it. We are all so small in the grand scheme. I get dizzy thinking about the epic scale of space. Or is it just the space spinner? Attaching an intangible wish to a tangible object seems to be a universal habit. I wish for my family's happiness, but I haven't quite found the right talisman to attach to it. My family must be wishing for my safe return. I hope they have better luck. Yeah, they do, most likely. This reminds me of a mythical creature famous for granting immortality to those brave enough to seek it out. I have no interest in living forever, or maybe the idea of risking my life for the sole purpose of avoiding death just sounds a bit wonky. Why not enjoy the time you have while you have it? Anyway, this is a nice shade of red. To have a charm that's solely devoted to financial luck comes up as vulgar and gives me an icky feeling. On the other hand, money is a necessity and that's an inescapable fact. Well, there is one escape. More money. Wouldn't that be nice? To have a bit more? It would be. I am deeply moved when I imagine ancient peoples entrusting this small smooth ball with their hopes and dreams, then passing it down through the ages. It'd be a comfort to know that my dreams won't die with me, but will somehow transcend time. Ah, the tool before that. I'm so amused by the idea of catching a dream, but it's difficult to achieve in practice. I still haven't been able to catch the ball with the spike upright. Perhaps I need to try an easier angle. But would that diminish the challenge and thus the quality of my dream? I mean, do you think too much into it? Maybe, it's a toy. Don't worry too much if it's deflated. Simply pump more air into the top hole and the original shape is restored. The material, though paper thin, seems to repel water. Such an inspiring creation. Only the most advanced civilizations could conceive of such work of art. It's like a metaphor for both the fragility and durability of life itself. Okay, almost reaching the end here. I once had a trump card, a premium license given only to first-rate space navigation officers that allows you to bypass the arduous license renewal process. But I'm sure I lost that qualification with this recent accident. Guess it's back to annual visits to the license renewal planet on the edge of space. The lines are always so long. Does true evil exist? I can't say for sure, but I have seen a smile like this before. It often graces the fact of the president of Hokotate Fright, usually when she's asking me to work overtime, unpaid. So I guess I can confirm that true evil does exist. Some might look at this and see a symbol for life, but this treasure better represents courage. The two are closely related, of course. Power and wisdom also have roles to play, but without the courage to take that first step, your journey cannot begin. There's physical power and then there's mental power. Anyone who's witnessed an argument between me and my wife could clearly see who's quicker on their feet in the heat of the moment. That doesn't bother me so much. I just wish I had the same fortitude and wit to stand up to the president. You really don't like that president. Possessing wisdom isn't always a good thing. Sure, you can examine a subject from multiple angles, but you can also get stuck in a maze of thoughts. Am I envious of people who can just act on instinct without overthinking? Let's see. I don't. Maybe. If my travels through space and my time spent observing various life forms have taught me anything, it's that love can take many forms. Some creatures get the nutrition they need to grow their eggs by eating their mates, but that's an extreme example. Sadly. The love I feel for my family and the passion I have for my work are so very important to me, but so is money. Love and passion are all well and good, but you can't appreciate any of it if you go hungry. And you'll go hungry in this universe without money. That is true. In my line of work, it's crucial to stay on top of your to-do list. When things are busy, it's easy to get sloppy and let things slide, but that's when consistency matters most. There's nothing like that rush of joyful relief you feel when crossing off a task. Appears to have the same compensation as the gold on my planet. I've heard that some heavy elements, like gold, are created during rare collisions between neutron stars, but to think the same element exists on a faraway planet reminds me, space is so vast. I've lived through the some harrowing events, and the trick of surviving in space is to prepare for every possible situation, but this is technically and literally impossible. Sometimes you just need to roll the dice, hope for the best and let the universe do its thing. To be fair, a lot of the things are quite nice life lessons that Olimar gives, not the relationship advice. Having you choose 1 out of 20 possible scenarios during a voyage through space would be an object lesson in randomness, and very unfortunate. On the minuscule chance it should ever occur, the only solution would be to throw up your hands and laugh. When I gaze at this stone, I can feel my fate being forecasted. It must know what's going on to happen to me. I'm sure it sees that I'll be hailed as a brilliant visionary and brave explorer when I return to Hokotate. While exploring, I'm often faced with the difficult question, which way do I go? North, south, east, west, or anything in between? A tool like this could be useful in those moments. Of course, one roll would be too random. It'd be best to roll it 100 times and take the average result. Whatever you say. Cards, nice. I hope to one day celebrate a high-numbered birthday, but I don't think there will be any large birds in attendance at the party. Just think of how much trouble they could cause. If space has taught me anything, it's to plan for the worst case scenario. Sorry, wrong button. Springtime always reminds me of the day I moved out of my parents' house. At first, everything was fresh and exciting, but I quickly realized that life on my own was a lot harder than I expected. I also realized I should thank my parents for all they've done to me. When my son was little, he thought the moon was just a powdered donut in the sky. He would cry and cry, "I want to eat the moon!" Apparently I was the same way. These days he loves to look at the moon through the telescope. Guess the apple doesn't fall far. I love rainy days. They're the perfect time to catch up on paperwork, relax a bit, and dream about my next big adventure. That is, if I have energy left after entertaining my kids who can't go outside to play when it's wet. I'll take what I get. Maybe this object would help increase productivity at Hokotate Fright. So would a better spaceship. Maybe it's my fault. If I stop miraculously surviving such dangerous situations, the president might realize we need to upgrade our equipment. Please don't die. And with that, we've done it. All the treasures, all the pain. And because I'm in pain and my throat hurts, I just say, have a nice day. We see each other at the final part. Leave a like, a comment and a subscription. And bye.